The trailer doesn't just tease what's coming next. It quietly reveals that every single character is about to cross a line they can't come back from. And the scariest part? Some of them don't even realize it yet. Euphoria Season 3 has officially reached that point where the tension isn't just building anymore. It's starting to break. The cracks are visible in every storyline, and Episode 5 looks like the moment where those cracks turn into full-blown fractures. What stands out immediately in this trailer is how everything feels tighter, more suffocating, and far more dangerous than before. The opening moments don't waste time easing us in. Instead, they throw us straight into an atmosphere that feels heavy, almost uncomfortable to sit through. Rue is once again placed right at the center of it, and the way she's being watched, questioned, and silently judged tells us that her situation is getting worse by the second. There's no sense of safety around her anymore. Every word being said, every glance being exchanged. It all feels like a test, like she's one wrong move away from everything collapsing. And what makes it even more intense is that the people around her aren't loud or aggressive about it. They're calm, controlled, and that's exactly what makes them more dangerous. It creates this unsettling feeling that they already know more than they're letting on. At the same time, the trailer carefully contrasts this dark, dangerous world with the polished, almost glamorous side of Cassie's life. On the surface, everything looks perfect for her. The attention, the growth, the success. It's all happening so fast that it almost feels unreal. But underneath that, there's something off. The way she presents herself, the way she speaks, and especially the moment where she says she would do anything for her audience. It doesn't come across as confidence. It feels like desperation hidden behind a smile. And that's where the danger begins. Because when someone starts valuing approval from strangers more than real connections, it becomes very easy for them to lose control of who they are. The trailer hints that Cassie is stepping into a world that looks rewarding on the outside, but could be deeply damaging behind the scenes. And without the right people around her to guide or protect her, she might not even realize it until it's too late. Then there's Maddie, who seems to be playing a much bigger role in Cassie's rise than it might appear at first. She's not just helping. She's actively building something for Cassie, putting in effort, handling things behind the scenes. But what makes this interesting is the emotional imbalance that's starting to form. Maddie is investing time, energy, and trust, while Cassie is slowly drifting into a space where business matters more than loyalty. And when that shift happens, it almost always leads to betrayal. The trailer subtly sets this up through small moments, small lines, and small actions, but the meaning behind them is huge. It feels like we're watching the early stages of a fallout that's going to hit much harder when it finally happens. Meanwhile, Jules' storyline brings a completely different kind of tension. Hers isn't loud or explosive. It's quiet, internal, and slowly building. There's a clear sense of emptiness around her. Even though she has comfort, even though she has a place to stay, none of it feels fulfilling. The trailer shows us someone who is bored, disconnected, and searching for something to make her feel alive again. But instead of going back to what once gave her purpose, she seems to be drifting further away from it. And that's what makes her situation so risky. Because when someone starts making decisions out of boredom rather than intention, they often end up creating problems they can't control. The tension with the person providing her lifestyle also hints that this stability she's relying on is extremely fragile. One mistake, one wrong decision, and it could all disappear. All of these storylines are happening side by side, but what connects them is the growing sense that no one is really in control anymore. Every character is reacting instead of thinking, moving forward without fully understanding the consequences. And the trailer does a brilliant job of building that feeling without directly saying it. It's in the pacing, the music, the expressions. It all adds up to create this atmosphere where something bad isn't just possible. It feels inevitable. As the trailer continues, the pressure doesn't ease up. Instead, it tightens even further, especially when it comes to Rue's position in this dangerous world she's now fully trapped in. There's a very noticeable shift in how the people around her are behaving. It's no longer just quiet suspicion. It feels like they're actively testing her, pushing her, waiting for her to slip up. The way conversations are delivered, the tone of voice, the lack of emotion. It all creates this chilling environment where Rue is clearly not safe anymore. And what makes it even more intense is that she knows it. You can almost feel the tension through the screen, like she's constantly calculating her next move, trying to stay one step ahead while also knowing that she's already too deep into something she can't escape from. The trailer gives off the impression that her time is running out, and whether it's the people she's working with or the authorities she's dealing with, both sides are starting to close in on her. At the same time, there's this growing sense that the operation she's involved in is becoming more unstable. When you look at the behavior of the people in charge, especially the way they handle situations when something goes wrong, it's clear that they don't tolerate mistakes. There's no room for error, no second chances, and that's what raises the stakes for Rue even higher. Because if someone even slightly suspects that she's not trustworthy, the consequences won't just be serious, they'll be immediate. The trailer hints at punishment, fear, and control being used to maintain order, and that kind of environment is exactly where things can spiral out of control very quickly. It also suggests that not everyone within that circle is on the same page. There are doubts, whispers, and subtle signs of mistrust between them, which could end up making the situation even more dangerous for Rue. Because sometimes, it's not just about being caught, it's about who decides to speak up first. Then shifting over to Nate, his storyline looks like it's heading in a completely chaotic direction. The state that he's in throughout the trailer tells you everything you need to know without him even saying much. His surroundings feel messy, uncontrolled, and reflective of what's going on inside his head. There's a clear sense that he's losing control over his life, and more importantly, over himself. And when a character like Nate reaches that point, it rarely leads to anything good. The fact that he's reaching out, asking for help, shows a level of desperation that we don't usually see from him. But at the same time, it raises a question. What happens if that help doesn't come? Because if Cassie is no longer prioritizing him the way she used to, then Nate is going to be left dealing with his problems alone. And based on what the trailer is hinting at, those problems aren't small. There's also the growing threat surrounding him that hasn't gone away. If anything, it feels like it's becoming more serious. The idea that he owes something significant, something that people are willing to chase him down for, adds another layer of danger to his storyline. And the way the trailer builds this up, through quick moments, tension-filled scenes, and a sense of urgency, makes it feel like he's being hunted. Not just physically, but mentally as well. He's constantly looking over his shoulder, constantly reacting, and that kind of pressure can break even the strongest characters. It creates this expectation that at some point, he's going to be confronted again, and when that happens, it's not going to end well for him. What's interesting is how his storyline begins to connect back to Cassie's. While she's rising, gaining attention, and stepping into a new world, Nate is falling apart in the background. And that contrast feels very intentional. It shows how quickly dynamics can change. The person who once had control is now desperate, and the person who once depended on him is now moving forward without looking back. But that kind of shift doesn't happen without consequences. Because if Nate feels abandoned, especially in the state that he's in, it could push him into making decisions that are far more reckless than anything we've seen before. All of this builds up a sense that Episode 5 isn't just about progression, it's about escalation. Every storyline is moving toward a point where something has to give. Rue can't keep balancing both sides forever. Nate can't keep running, and the people around them aren't going to stay patient. The trailer makes it clear that things are about to collide, and when they do, it's not going to be quiet or controlled. It's going to be messy, unpredictable, and most importantly, unavoidable. As the trailer moves deeper, the focus shifts again, and this time it leans heavily into Cassie's storyline, but not in the way you might expect. On the surface, everything still looks like it's going perfectly for her. The attention is growing, the opportunities are opening up, and she's clearly stepping into a space where she's being noticed more than ever before. But the more you look at it, the more you start to realize that this success doesn't feel stable. It feels rushed, almost forced, like it's happening too quickly for her to fully understand what she's getting into. And that's exactly where the danger lies. Because when things move this fast, there's usually something happening behind the scenes that we're not being shown yet. There's a moment in the trailer where she seems completely comfortable, almost detached from everything around her. And that's what stands out the most. It doesn't feel like genuine happiness. It feels like she's convincing herself that everything is fine. And when she says that she's willing to do anything for the people watching her, it adds another layer to that. It's not just about ambition anymore. It's about validation. She's chasing approval, and the more she gets, the more she's willing to give up in return. That kind of mindset can be incredibly dangerous, especially in an environment where people are always looking for someone they can take advantage of. The trailer hints that she's entering a space where control isn't really hers anymore, even if it feels like it is. What also becomes clear is that her relationship with Maddie is starting to change in a very subtle but important way. Maddie is still there, still involved, still helping, but the balance between them is shifting. It no longer feels equal. Cassie is moving forward, making decisions, stepping into new opportunities, while Maddie is the one supporting everything from the side. And when Cassie delivers that line about things not being personal, it says a lot without needing any extra explanation. It shows that she's already starting to separate emotions from actions, which might make things easier for her in the short term, but in the long run, it almost always leads to broken trust. Because from Maddie's perspective, everything she's doing is personal. She's investing her time, her energy, and possibly even her own reputation into helping Cassie succeed. This is where the trailer does something really clever. It doesn't show an argument or a fallout directly, but it plants the seeds for one. You can feel it building in the background. The small differences in behavior, the shift in tone, the way certain lines are delivered. It all points toward a moment where things are going to break between them. And when that happens, it's not going to be a small disagreement. It's going to be something that changes their dynamic completely. Because once trust is lost in a situation like this, it's very hard to rebuild. At the same time, there's also the influence of the people Cassie is surrounding herself with now. The trailer hints at new connections, new environments, and possibly new opportunities that are pulling her further away from the people who actually know her. And that's a risky move. Because when you step into a world where everyone sees you as a product rather than a person, it becomes very easy to lose your sense of identity. The more she leans into this lifestyle, the more she risks becoming exactly what others want her to be, rather than who she actually is. And without someone like Maddie grounding her, there's nothing really stopping that from happening. What makes this even more concerning is how unaware she seems of the potential consequences. There's no hesitation, no second guessing, just a constant push forward. And while that confidence might look strong on the outside, it could actually be the thing that leads her into a situation she can't control. The trailer gives off this feeling that she's walking into something much darker than she realizes. And by the time she sees it clearly, it might already be too late to step back. All of this adds another layer to the overall tension of the episode. While Rue's storyline is filled with immediate danger, and Nate's is spiraling into chaos, Cassie's feels like a slow descent. It's quieter, more subtle, but just as threatening in its own way. Because sometimes, the most dangerous situations aren't the ones that hit you all at once, they're the ones that build over time, pulling you in deeper until you don't even recognize where you started.